Hello, and thank you to everyone who's joined this masterclass. Can you all hear me?
Sure can.
Wonderful. So thank you for joining this masterclass, Birmingham 2022 Commonwealth Games, how to be part of the live broadcast, brought to you by Create Central, home of original storytelling as part of BBC Digital Cities Virtual. We are now live and this session is being recorded. Now, if you would like captions for this event, there is a live transcript button right at the bottom of the screen, which you can switch on or off. So I'm Noreen Khan and I have the pleasure of hosting this webinar. So I'm a radio presenter on the BBC Asian Network. I've literally just finished my radio show. And anyone that knows me knows that I'm a massive fan of sport as well. And I'm very excited about Commonwealth Games. And I've been involved already, actually. Last week, I was at Buckingham Palace hosting the Queen's Baton Relay launch, which was such a wonderful event. It was the first event taking place at Buckingham Palace since the pandemic. So yes, I also live in Birmingham. So this is wonderful to be hosting this Birmingham 2022 Commonwealth Games webinar. Okay, before I introduce everyone, I just want to say we'd love to hear your questions. So if you think of anything, if anything comes to mind, please type them into the Q&A box and we'll do our very best to try and answer them for you over the next hour or so. And if you're on social media, we would love for you to post on social media during this event. That would be fantastic. You can use the hashtag DigiCities and please tag at Create Central UK. Right, let's do this then. Let's get started. The next hour is all about Birmingham 2022 Commonwealth Games, the biggest event to be held in the UK for 10 years. And we'll be sharing the opportunities to work on the TV broadcast. Now, I'm delighted to be joined by the people who are at the heart of the Games and responsible for bringing the Games to the screens across the world, starting with Charlotte Birch from Sunset and Vine.
Hello.
Host broadcasters of the Games. Charlotte's working on Birmingham 2022 and worked as a trainee on the Rio 2016 Paralympic Games. Hello, Charlotte.
Hi.
We also have Malcolm Cowan, Head of Engineering and Technology, NEP, the outside broadcast company for the Games. Hello, Malcolm.
Hello, how are we all doing?
Good, thank you. And we also have Emma Riley, who's the director of the Host Broadcast Training Initiative run by Sunset and Vine.
Hi, Noreen. Nice to join you.
Hello, thank you for joining us. And finally, we have Nicola Turner, Director of Legacy for Birmingham 2022 Commonwealth Games.
There we go.
So welcome, everyone. Nicola, we can't hear you. If you wouldn't mind turning your mic on. Do we have Nicola? Well, we know Nicola's there somewhere, so we'll continue. So let's kick off. Less than 300 days now until the Games. Well, 287 to be precise, until the largest sports and culture event ever to be staged in the West Midlands starts. Now, to get us off the blocks, here's the Games Sizzles Reel.
We go on the beat of bang. All as one. From every corner of our city and every corner of the globe. For the big moments. The big hearts. And let's discover it together. This festival of drama. This carnival of joy. This celebration of greatness.
Wow, that looked very exciting. Cannot wait. Okay, then let's start then with Nicola. Nicola, welcome. Please, can you tell us more about the games and what's in store really for everyone?
Thanks, Noreen, and thanks for having me. Birmingham's never hosted an event of this size. It's a once-in-a-lifetime chance to put us all on the global stage, not just Birmingham, not just the West Midlands, our people and our businesses. But I mean, I'm going to throw some stats at you now. There's 11 days of sport, 6,500 athletes and officials, and we've got 19 sports and 8 para-sports. And these will be undertaken by athletes from across 72 nations and territories of the Commonwealth. Now, the Commonwealth comes together in these games as a spirit thing. It's a way to unite the family of the Commonwealth. And we're really proudly showcasing the largest ever para-sport programme here, but also another Games first, more women's medals than men's. And this is really in keeping with the Games for Everyone vision. We've got not just sport though on the cards. We're going to also be showcasing Birmingham's vibrant cultural scene. There's going to be plenty of cultural events available, not just the sport. There's a 6-month cultural festival that wraps around those 11 days of sport. We're hoping to get visitors here. We're hoping to drum up anticipation in the run-up. And of course, there's going to be this huge, spectacular celebration that comes with the opening and closing ceremonies. That opening ceremony is going to be on the 28th of July. It's going to tell stories of this place, of our heritage, of our diversity. And during the games, there will be broadcasting live from Centenary Square, a daily hot reel of all the highlights from the pitch, from the pool and from the court.
Thank you so much, Nicola. That sounds awesome. Okay, moving on to Charlotte now. So Charlotte, an incredible 1.5 billion people, that's a lot of people, will be watching these games. Now, you're working on the broadcast and you've worked on the Rio 2016 Paralympic Games already. So tell us, what was it like to work on the games?
This is a really cheesy answer, but to say it was the best thing ever. It was genuinely the best 3 weeks of my life. I had so much fun. But I love sport, I love TV. So to work on an event that combines the two, was just absolutely fantastic. And there was so many opportunities to learn whilst we were there. But yeah, I encourage anyone to get involved because it's the most fun you'll have.
I can see you're still buzzing from that whole experience.
I'm still very excited.
Brilliant. Okay, now moving on to Emma. Now, Emma, you're running the Host Broadcast Training Initiative for Sunset and Vine, who have experience in covering large sporting events. And we've actually got a show reel just to give a flavour of what Sunset and Vine actually do.
Stand by. Camera 2, what's camera 2?
What on earth is going through the mind of Elliot Kipchoge? We have liftoff.
Oh, he's trying it, he got it! It's 6! Oh, he gets in the way! Firing his way to the line! Oh, that's the speed and the ambition! Shoot! Oh, how about that?
Beautifully played.
This shot is one of the biggest in tennis.
This guy is an excitement machine. He is going to charge at you. Massive run from the defending World Cup champion! Oh, I'm on the edge of my seat! Oh, he's dropped it! No. Oh, he's Kirsten dropped it!
What a finish there.
Kozlov has bossed this match all the way through.
Absolutely spotless jumping. The run of his life. Goal!
Competing against the world's best.
The bell's gone. They're carrying on. Come on, referee. An electric heel of a striker. Kevin Harvick wins the Brickyard 400. Oh, they done it! I cannot believe it! What a
This is it. Eliud Kipchoge storms into the history books in Vienna. No human is limited.
I mean, wow, just watching that, to think all that's going to be happening in the West Midlands very soon. So Emma, tell us about all the brilliant opportunities that are available now to work on the games.
Yes, loads of opportunities, in fact. So Sunset and Vine are running an HBTI, or Host Broadcast Training Initiative. HBTI certainly rolls off the tongue a little bit quicker, but it's a recruitment and training initiative designed to find, train and upskill 200 West Midlands-based trainees who want to come and work in TV production at the Games. So for those 200, Sunset and Vine, the HBTI are offering them, first of all, work experience on one of Sunset and Vine's outside broadcasts, on one of our studio shows or our programming, or with one of our OB providers. Then, should they be matched with a job, we'll also give them skills-based training that is very job-specific to whatever role they'll be doing on the Games. And that will involve, it could involve kind of classroom training, but also mentoring from our existing Sunset and Vine staff, working freelancers and our OB companies. We'll then select, out of that 200, we'll then select 150 of these trainees for a paid job within the host broadcast team on the Games. These 150 roles span right across our host broadcast team. So these could be, there are roles for runners, loggers, edit assistants, media managers, content creators, technical operators working with our OB partners such as NEP, such as Malcolm, and even roles such as assistant floor manager and live gallery PA. So this is a really amazing opportunity. Regardless of what discipline in television production you're interested in, this is a great opportunity to make that big first step on the ladder to start your TV career.
Thank you very much, Emma. Okay, now moving on to Malcolm. Now, Malcolm, you're from the outside broadcast company for the Games, working on delivering over 2,000 hours worth of competition footage, which will consist of 19 sports throughout the 11-day event. And you'll be working very closely with the trainees. So can you tell us how they will actually be involved in the whole process?
Sure. We would basically train them up to understand how TV works in that environment. So big sporting events like this are huge, and the amount of kit and the number of people involved is massive. So we would train them sort of how they would work on the different, how vision and sound are acquired and move on to the different transmission platforms, how we use different types of kit to get that vision and sound to where it needs to go. We'll have two of our large triple expanding IP trucks there, which are very complex, but amazing to look at, see what they can achieve and what you can do in those trucks. Teach them the language of TV to a degree, and how all the teams communicate effectively. TV is a wash, broadcasting is a wash with TLAs. So there will be a vast amount of three-letter acronyms thrown around the place. So we'll help them to understand the difference between a CCU and an IEM, or what the difference between HDR and SDR, EVS and ENG. We can throw these letters around to everyone all the time, and hopefully by the end of it all, they'll actually understand what everyone's talking about, because it is quite key to understand. We need to communicate quickly and effectively. So that's a very good way of doing that. They'll spend time in each department learning how the different roles work and how they dovetail into the whole production. We'll also plan to get them a mentor, so they'll spend some time with a senior technical person in the OB environment, so they get to understand what's involved, who's involved in what the different roles do in the different scenarios we find ourselves in. And we'll also obviously look at potential events that we may be able to involve them in at another time as well.
Wow, so it seems like they get a lot of support, right from the beginning all the way through to the end.
Yeah,
with some very experienced staff.
Yeah, the last thing we want people to do is wandering around the broadcast compound looking lost. So we'll make sure they know what they're doing.
They're in safe hands.
Exactly.
Thank you, Malcolm. Okay, remember, if you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the Q&A box. If anything comes to mind whilst you're listening to our wonderful panelists, do drop the questions in the box. Okay, let's move back to Nicola. Now, Nicola, the Games are, as much about the sport as the opportunities for the region, including the job opportunities that we're discussing today.
Thanks, Noreen. Yes, I've got a brilliant job, because my job is to help create positive, lasting change that stretches out beyond these 11 days of sport and the cultural festival. And the sort of things you're hearing about today from Emma and Charlotte, you know, these 200 trainee opportunities are part of 35,000 jobs, volunteering opportunities and training chances that the Games is bringing to Birmingham. And I think, and part of the sort of response to the pandemic, lots of people out there who may have lost a job, who may be looking to retrain because the path they were originally on perhaps has changed. So we really want to help people make that next step, and the Games offers all these new opportunities. We're doing this through something that we call the Jobs and Skills Academy, and that's making about £1 million worth of government funding available to retrain in all kinds of different things. Very recently, we've just retrained 626 people in stewarding and in security jobs to be ready to take on jobs at the Games. But beyond jobs and skills, we're doing other things as well. So we're bringing the Games and the celebration of the Games to schools, to youth centres, and also to sports clubs. We are planning to turn the venues, places like the Alexander Stadium, which is having this huge refit, and the brand new Sandwell Aquatic Centre, they'll be turned into well-loved and well-used community venues. We're even talking to the UK Athletics. Birmingham City Council has struck a new deal with UK Athletics for 10 years to bring more events to Birmingham to host in the Alex. And we're also using the Games to raise awareness of mental health on the construction sites for those venues, but also to try and inspire people to improve their health and well-being with all these athletes coming to Birmingham, and you know, the bump that comes with seeing all of these people performing at the top of their game. We hope that that will last in Birmingham and help improve our healthy lives and living.
That sounds great. I mean, it's going to be a big operation, isn't it?
Absolutely. And you know, the thousands of people are hopefully our Charlotte Birches. They'll be talking about the experience on the Games for many years to come, whether they're a volunteer and greeting people at our train stations and our venues, or whether they're working on the Games, or whether they're just a visitor. And whichever camp you're in, we hope that that memory is something which you'll treasure forever.
I'm sure they will. Thank you very much, Nicola. Now, mentioning Charlotte, like we were saying earlier on, Charlotte, you were a trainee on Rio 2016, and that kind of kick-started your career in broadcasting. So it's brilliant that you're here today, because you can talk, you know, give us first-hand experience of what that was like. Now, can you tell us, I mean, you know, are there going to be the same opportunities for trainees who work on the Commonwealth Games in Birmingham?
Yeah, absolutely. I was going to answer this all in acronyms, but I think that might be too far. Yeah, absolutely. So I was on a similar HBTI 5 years ago now, which just makes me feel quite old. And I actually applied for it, and I was working, I'm from Worcestershire, and I was working at my local county council at the time. I have to give a shout out to my dad, because he actually saw the advert and he just encouraged me to go for it. And kind of the rest is history from there. I went on this fantastic training initiative that will be very much like the HBTI, and the mentoring, the experience, the kind of knowledge that you learn in that year, and the opportunities you're given to learn as well. I think there's an element of kind of just taking up what you can was absolutely phenomenal, and probably founded a hell of a lot of what I know now. And then I was really lucky enough to get a chance to go to Rio at the end of this with Sunset and Vine. And that was kind of as far as it was due to go. Was I worked with them for 3 weeks, had, as we said before, the time of my life that I would tell anyone and everyone about. And then I came home, I got a phone call from Sunset and Vine. They asked if I wanted to do some logging. I said yes. That was for 2 weeks, and I've been there 5 years. So yeah. It's,
wow, there we go. It just goes to show, doesn't it? I mean, you started off as the trainee, and you've been working in TV ever since.
Yes. Yeah.
So Charlotte's living proof that it works.
Exactly. Yeah, I just say go for it. I think that's my big message.
There you go. Like, if you're watching this webinar right now, you know, Charlotte, you know, she's just explained how that whole, you know, journey was just incredible, and it's still going on for you. So thank you for sharing that. Okay, moving on to you now, Emma. Now, Emma, what kinds of people are you looking for to get involved?
Well, our only actual criteria, eligibility criteria, are 3 things. So you need to be aged over 19. You need to be based in the West Midlands area. So that is have a postcode within the West Midlands Combined Authority area. If you're not sure, if you go onto the WMCA website, they've got a really helpful map that covers all of the area that covers WMCA area. And also you need to, as we are offering a paid job, you do need to have a right to work in the UK at the time of the games as well. Outside of those 3 things, we are looking for people from whatever background, from whatever experience. So whether you have media experience through education or through employment, or whether you don't have any experience in media or television at all, and you're just keen to explore this and have always wondered about whether this might be a career for you, we're open to you. Obviously, this is a huge sporting event. We'd love to find some people who are passionate about sport. You don't have to be a semi-professional athlete to be passionate about sport. This could be a sport as a hobby. It could be watching sport and supporting from the sidelines, or better yet, you might even be a fan of some of the sport that you saw in our show reel and really wonder if you might want to have a go. That's fine. Apply for this. Come into our training scheme, see if a career in sports broadcasting is for you. You don't need to have done anything before. We will give you that full training. So we really are open to anyone of any background.
I mean, that's so good to hear, because hopefully then this just opens it up to a much wider an audience, doesn't it, in a sense? And the Commonwealth Games aren't going to be coming around like this in the West Midlands. God knows when this will happen again. So, we really need to make the most of this. Yeah, absolutely. So if you're watching this webinar right now thinking, should I, shouldn't I? No, you definitely should. Like Emma said, it's pretty much open to everyone. And I'm sure they would love to hear from you. If you do have any questions, don't hesitate. Please drop your questions into the Q&A box. There is a whole team dedicated to replying to you straight away. Emma, very quickly, is there anything for people who are aged under 18?
Currently in this particular scheme, no, you have to be aged over 19 to be eligible for the HBTI through the West Midlands Combined Authority. But there are, Nicola may know, there are some other opportunities potentially for those who aren't aged over 19.
Okay.
There are going to be some field of play stewarding opportunities and some other things that will come up. It will be coming out next year, so I'm sorry there is a little bit of a wait, but I hopefully it will be worth it.
Okay, I just have an question here. Will there be somewhere that we can watch this back? This Q&A? Yes, I should think there will be. I'm sure that we will drop some details into the box at the bottom. So whoever sent that in, I'm sure there will be. Okay, so let's move now on to Malcolm. By the way, I will come to all of the questions at the end as well. So Malcolm, let's have a quick look at a show reel before we get into any more questions.
Takeover. Ja, dat zijn toch... Maar ik vind sowieso de laatste jaren...
TV broadcast Earth.
How good did that look? The NEP showreel, the outside broadcast company working on the games, and Malcolm is the representative on this webinar today. Malcolm, I mean, how awesome did that look? I mean, when you watch it back yourself, is it quite incredible to think, you know, you've been a part of all of this, and this is all to come now next year right here in Birmingham?
Yeah, I mean, the scale of these events is immense, and it's incredible when you think about what comes together to get it out there. So the fans that enter the stadium and they watch all the sport, which is, you know, amazing in itself, but then you've got the TV coverage to make that happen. It's fantastic. I'm always blown away by these events when I do them. My first event was the Olympics in 1992. So echoing Charlotte's comments, I was absolutely hooked once I'd worked on that. So I loved it immensely, and basically shaped my career to continue doing that kind of thing. So it was a wonderful experience. I got to work with some amazing people. I got to see some amazing sports, and I got to work with some amazing kit. So it was just a great experience all round. And it's great when you meet all these people. The whole event works around the people. It's about the people more than anything else. We can have cutting edge kit, but it's about the people you work with, and that's where, you know, we want to make sure that people feel welcomed and enjoy this kind of an experience, because it is, in many respects, it's a one-off experience. You never have the same event twice in a row, so your enjoyment of it is fantastic. So I would always, you know, encourage people to be involved, get into the nitty-gritty of it. It is an amazing experience. And, you know, NEP is a global company. This is the kind of thing we do around the world. A lot of the stuff you saw there was kind of, we do things like screens for big concerts. We cover big concerts for television. We do sport broadcasting around the globe. We do all sorts of amazing things. So if you can get involved in that, and that's your bag, get in there. That's what I say.
Do you know what's kind of really coming through this webinar for me is the fact that, like, somebody like Charlotte as well, she started off in 2016 at the Rio Olympics, and she's been working in TV ever since. And Malcolm, you know, it appears to me that you've been working in this sort of thing as well for a very long time. So clearly, once you get into it, I guess it's hard to leave.
Absolutely. I started in telly when dinosaurs walked the earth, but it's one of those things that I have found immensely enjoying throughout my career. I've never really ever had a dull day. You know, doing this kind of work is always great fun, and you meet some amazing people and work on some great things. So yeah, you know, I highly recommend it to anybody who's interested.
Well, I'm just going to dip into the Q&A box. I can see lots of questions are being thrown in here. So Victoria's asking, can people who are willing to relocate to this area apply? I guess that question is maybe for Nicola or Emma could answer that.
I can pick that up. So to go onto this HBTI with Create Central's boot camps, to be eligible for it, you do need to have a West Midlands Combined Authority postcode. So if you have one of those postcodes or can get one of those postcodes, then absolutely. The idea of this is we want local people, though. We do want people who are based here to be able to work on the game. So if you're considering moving to the region, then absolutely get involved. This could be just the catalyst that you need to come to the Midlands and hopefully stay in the Midlands, of course.
Okay, thank you. And here's a question from
Maureen, just to add to that. Sorry to jump in there.
Carry on, yes.
While these particular traineeships are for people with West Midlands addresses, there are plenty of jobs at the organising committee that are available now, and you don't need a West Midlands address. So if we can bring you here or attract you here through the games, I've just had a very quick look on the website to see what current roles are showing. And we've got things in events management, operations, venue management, spectator experience. And these range from entry-level roles and right the way through to sort of experience management roles. But I'll give you a flavour of some of the ones that are available now. We need a brand and marketing assistant. We need accessibility coordinators, accommodation coordinators in the athletes' villages. We need receptionists and people who will do all the accreditation coordination, which is where you get your passes, you know, like the passes around your neck to get into places. The accommodation, what else have we got here? Workforce comms assistant and the athletes village training manager. So if any of those kind of things float your boat, they're available now.
Thank you very much for that, Nicola. Okay, we will obviously get more of your questions answered before the hour is up. But just staying with you, Nicola, now the games offer, you know, really great opportunities for people who want to work in broadcasting, as we know. But what are the opportunities specifically for the West Midlands?
Well, one of the things we want the games to do is to be a catalyst for transformation. And one of the benefits of hosting is that we can improve things like some of our transport and housing that have been long-standing things we wanted to improve. Well, you're hearing on this webinar how we're generating new jobs and apprenticeships, but we also want to improve the image of the region to bring more trade, more tourism here in the long term. So one of our legacy missions, if you like, is to help the region grow and succeed. And these 200 opportunities here, you've heard they're part of a much bigger plan to try and accelerate the talent pool in the West Midlands. There are links in the chat. Someone's asked in the chat how to find the job vacancies, and hopefully you'll be able to browse those. But one of the things we've tried to do, you've heard from Emma that we're trying to promote the work for local people. And that has been a very conscious choice. We've asked our suppliers to help us employ local people, to make sure that local people directly benefit from having the disruption in some cases, because we're digging up roads and building new houses, but also to reach into communities that quite often feel as though they are excluded from opportunities like these. I mentioned that we'd set up this Commonwealth Jobs and Skills Academy. That is promoting opportunities in those communities that don't always hear about this stuff, but it's also getting people ready to retrain. And, you know, for our future Charlotte Birches, if you like, the future does look bright. BBC have just announced plans to create a centre of excellence in Birmingham for TV production in Birmingham, and it's going to start producing a couple of really big ticket shows from here. And that's part of the BBC's shift of resources out of London. And it also intends to create an apprentice training academy, which is part of the Digbeth regeneration plan. So the future does look bright if you come onto one of these traineeships and want to stay in the region. But the prospect of the games, I suppose, and the doors that it can open is even more important following the pandemic. I think the games and the opportunities it's bringing to the region is unique. There isn't any other city in England that's getting this kind of attention at the moment. And Birmingham 2022 is already playing a big role in the region's recovery plan. But beyond that, people are getting excited. And I think 2022 is starting to feel like it's round the corner. We're starting to see people wanting to celebrate and wanting to use the games as a reason to come together again.
Yeah, absolutely. And like you said, Nicola, it's nice now because as you drive around Birmingham, you're seeing, you know, all the billboards. You're starting to feel the excitement and the banners. You're seeing banners everywhere. And I think as we come closer, obviously, to next year and to July, it's you're not going to be able to come into Birmingham and not see something connected with Commonwealth Games. It's just going to be everywhere, isn't it? And so it's a good idea to get applying now and get yourself involved now if you really want to work as part of, be a part of the live broadcast. Thank you, Nicola. Okay, moving on to Emma. Now, Emma, we're keen to celebrate the fantastic diversity of the region in the Games. Now, is that being reflected in the training programme?
Yes, it is. And that's something we've been very mindful of ourselves. So we're also keen to showcase the diverse communities that we have across the West Midlands. So as part of the HBTI, we've committed to 50% of the successful trainees that go on to work on the Games being from underrepresented groups within the television industry. So these include representing the West Midlands wide ethnic backgrounds. These positions are open to anyone over 19. However, those people aren't restricted to just graduates. Those are college leavers. Those are people who are looking for career change. So it's really 19 to 90, as it were, or who've wanted to pursue a career in television but haven't ever kind of taken up this kind of, or seen this kind of opportunity, and now feel that this is the right time to do it. We're also working with our venues to ensure the vast majority of them will have disabled access backstage for our host broadcast team, which is slightly different to obviously if you are to come as a spectator of the Games. And the majority of our roles will be accessible to those with a disability, be that physical or neurological. The Games venues stretch all across the West Midlands and even outside up to Cannock Chase and through to Leamington Spa. So we're actively seeking people from a huge wide range of communities. So not just Birmingham. I think one of the questions was, is it just Birmingham? It's not just Birmingham. It's Birmingham, Walsall, Wolverhampton, Sandwell and Dudley, Stourbridge, Oldbury, Sutton Coldfield, Solihull, even Coventry, anywhere for these particular boot camps, anywhere with a West Midlands postcode. But as Nicola said, there are opportunities if you don't have a WMCA postcode. And lastly, we're working with a large number of partners in order to give these opportunities to as many people as possible from any background. So we've mentioned the Jobs and Skills Academy, the GSA and the DWP, but also Sunset and Vine are working with Create Central, with Birmingham City University, as well as a number of other West Midlands universities, as well as Solihull College, and a number of community and sporting groups all across the West Midlands to give people support when they do apply. So if they do need some help with their application or some help with figuring out how this is going to work, maybe they already have a job and they're trying to fit this in, that we are working with a number of partners who can help support you through that application process.
Well, that's superb. It's like you've got all bases covered here. And It sounds very inclusive as well. And I love the fact that, 50% of the successful applicants will be from diverse backgrounds. So, yes, there's no reason not to want to apply. Thank you, Emma. Okay, back to Charlotte, who is our living proof that if you do, start off as a trainee, 5 years later, you'll still be working in telly. Now, Charlotte, you worked on the Paralympics. So tell us, are there opportunities for disabled people on the Games?
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think disability should be seen as a barrier ever. I think it's just more about adapting to what you need. So I personally have cerebral palsy, and I can quite confidently say that I've never let that stop me. It's just about adapting to whatever you need. And as Emma said before, that's something that we're doing on these Games. Is there's an abundance of roles available. I'm just looking at my paper to make sure I get some of them right. There's floor managers, assistants, there's VMix assistants, there's runners, there's loggers, there's all types of things that you can do. And I think if you're worried, if you have a disability and you're worried that you might not be able to do something, get in touch with us and we can talk about it. It's not, that shouldn't put you off at all.
And it certainly didn't put you off when you applied for the Paralympics, did you, in 2000?
No, not at all. If anything, actually, I really appreciated meeting other people like myself and other people that you all come from the same boat. And I think that was something quite special in itself. Just to prove to people that you're not the only person out there. There's so many people from so many different backgrounds that when you all come together, I think it's something quite magical.
Well, I mean, you're right in the sense, because this is not like having a normal job as such, because these huge sporting events don't come around very often. And I think once you've been a part of it, you're going to remember this for the rest of your life. Like I'm sure you will, Charlotte.
Yeah, I think you get bitten by the bug. You know, and I've had the very fortunate opportunity of working on quite a few wonderful big events. And there's just something, magical, special. I could use all the wonderful words. But you know, you just kind of, once you've had a taste of it, that's what
you want more.
To keep going back to.
Thank you very much, Charlotte. Well, I can see there are lots of questions being thrown into our Q&A box. Right, let's get some of these answered. Okay, so Ilvaz is asking, what are the stages of selecting candidates? And I can't remember if did we answer this question before?
No, but I can quickly.
Yeah, what are the stages, please, of selecting candidates?
So first of all, if you go to the links that are being posted in the chat at the moment to apply, so you'll be sent an application form. And the reason that we do, I think there's also an option to send in a CV as well, but the reason that we do an application form is we completely appreciate that what you might be able to put on a CV, be it where you were educated, what courses you studied, or what jobs you've had, might not really tell us what it is that we want to know, which is, what are you passionate about? Do you have a passion for a particular sport? Have you sat and watched basketball since you were 6 years old? Have you do you do something in your spare time that maybe wouldn't easily be put on a CV? Those are the kind of things we want out of that application form. Once you've done that, you'll then go through to an interview stage where myself or one of the members of the team will arrange, probably unfortunately, an online interview with COVID, and chat through what it is that you're interested in, what roles you might be suitable for, and you'll then go through to have an option to go onto a boot camp, and that's a 4-week boot camp which will really get you ready for the games. So the idea is to give you a really broad overview about everything that we're doing at the games, give you an insight into how the host broadcast team is made up, what the role of a runner might be, what the role of a logger might be, what does a floor manager actually do, so that if you are looking to go onto those roles, you have already got an idea. After that boot camp, you'll then be offered work experience that I mentioned. So that would be going with one of Sunset and Vines productions, or even one of NEP's productions, to go on site, so that all of that knowledge that you've already learned in that boot camp, you can then go and see for real what that person does. We're then, as I said, we have 200 of those opportunities across the whole HBTI. We then have 150 roles. So from that, we then do a second stage interview where we're looking really to match you with a job and offer you that paid employment on the games. You'll go through accreditation at some point in there as well, which is, as Nicholas said, is the getting the shiny backstage pass to get you in. That's what everybody wants. You know, everybody's now applying for tickets. If you've got a shiny backstage pass, you don't need a ticket. So you can work on the games instead. And then as we get closer to the games, there may well be some more specific job specific training. So if you are going, for example, to be a live gallery PA, we'll arrange for you to meet a real gallery PA and have some training with them, maybe even join them and shadow them on some other OBs before, so that day one on the games, you are completely ready to start your role. I must stress, these are paid opportunities. This isn't work experience. This isn't making the tea. This is a paid job. This is an excellent opportunity to have a springboard into starting your career in television production. Sorry, that wasn't I was planning.
No, that's fine. Emma, thank you so much. I mean, Gemma also sent in a question. I think you kind of answered that, because Gemma wants to know, will we get to visit the studios and the venues before the games?
Certainly. So from our part, there'll certainly be some visiting of our OB companies. There'll be some on some of the boot camps. On the boot camps, the candidates will be learning how to do some logging. So we'll probably be visiting some logging operations, some live logging operations, and we're actually looking to take candidates to some of the 2012 venues in London. So to where we have an operation at BT Sport in Stratford. The venues themselves, Nicola can testify, are still in construction, some of them. So we might not be visiting them just yet, but certainly ahead of the games, there'll be some orientation days as well, to make sure that on day one, everybody knows where they need to be and when they need to be there, and they know where the loos are, that kind of thing.
Sure, brilliant. Okay, and here's a question from Lisa. What kind of sports will trainees be working on? And will they get to work on multiple sports or just one?
The jobs vary, to be honest. There are jobs just on a particular sport. For example, we have a live gallery PA that is just on the cricket throughout the entire games. But we also have jobs that cover 5 or 6 different sports, depending on the sporting calendar at the time. So there's some sports are only filmed over a number of days, and then they might move on to a different sport. So if you have a number of sports that you're interested in, it might be that combination works, and we can schedule you to work on a number of different ones.
Okay, thank you. And here's a question, I guess, whoever wants to answer this. Really good question, saying, what's a typical day for a runner? What would a typical day for a runner involve?
I'm going to leave Malcolm or Charlotte to pick that
one.
Well, it can be anything, to be honest with you. A lot of it's around what you've been asked to do. It can be simple as you need to go and get someone or something, or you need to be at a place to look after a person or make sure that everyone's got what they need. I mean, it varies every day. I couldn't tell you if there's a very prescriptive way of describing it. Carry on, please do.
Does it involve a lot of running by any chance?
Well, unless you want to get there quickly.
Yeah, I was just going to jump in and say, yeah, I agree with everything Malcolm said there. I think no day is the same, and you could be doing anything, but it's a very varied role, and you get to learn a lot, and you get to see a lot, and see what other people do, which I think is the fantastic thing about a runner, is you kind of get to know all parts of the operation, which is really fun.
What was the most fun part for you personally, Charlotte?
Oh gosh,
what were your highlights?
Oh God, that's put me on the spot. I think, you know what? I think it was a combination of, I loved being in a gallery, and I absolutely love when all the lights go on and you get ready to see, the countdown clock, and you go to air, and you just get to watch everyone in their element, and there's a real, I can't really describe it, it's such a buzz in that place at that time.
Yeah.
And I think for me, that's one of my favourite things to witness.
Thank you, Charlotte. I mean, you've all been fantastic, but I do have just a question now, which I would like to put to all of you. And that is, what one tip would you give to anyone who's going to watch this now or watch it back later and they're thinking of applying? So what one tip would you give to an applicant? Can we start with you, Nicola?
You can. Mine's quite swift. Don't discount yourself. Too many people overanalyze it and discount themselves before they've even put their application in. I know we've given you some tramlines. We've said you've got to be over 19, and we've said you need a West Midlands postcode. But apart from that, don't overthink it. Put your application in.
There you go. You've heard it from Nicola. Don't hang about. Get that application in. What about you, Malcolm? What one tip would you give to an applicant?
Echoing what Nicola said to a degree. I mean, I think I've interviewed lots of people for roles in the past, and some massively qualified people have applied, and they just haven't got the pizzazz, the zoom, whatever it is you need. And I want passion. I want people who are interested in it, want to be involved. It doesn't necessarily matter if you're super duper qualified. If you've got the passion and the drive, that's what we need.
Brilliant. And moving on to you, Emma.
Well, Nicola and Malcolm have kind of stolen the best tips, I think. I think mine would be slightly similar to Nicola's in the fact that don't discount yourself, but also don't think that you have to have wanted to work in television for the last 10 years to think that this might be something for you. It's an incredibly varied career. It's not just technical, it's not just logistics, it's not just creative, it's all of those things all in one. No day is the same, no matter where you rise up the ranks. It's a really fulfilling career. So if you're at that point where you're not really sure where to go, give this a try. There's no harm in it. In fact, you're only going to learn and figure out what you do like and what you don't like, and be involved. It's 11 days next year that whatever you're doing in your life, what an incredible memory to make.
Absolutely. And Charlotte?
Oh, I don't really know how to follow those. I agree with them all. I think I echo Malcolm when I just say enthusiasm. For example, I wasn't the most qualified person when I was on my boot camp at all, but through just sheer, I think probably at times too much enthusiasm, and just perseverance and just wanting to learn and just the excitement, I think. Just let that come across.
Thank you. And am I right in thinking the deadline's been extended to the 24th of October?
Yes, that's right. So so another week or so to get your application in and to go through on those links and get it in. So not long.
Just a reminder, please, Emma, what is the website address? I know it's been being put into the inbox, but for anyone who's not accessing the chat box.
There's lots of websites that link to it, but the primary website that you'll all get linked to is the Solihull College one. So it's solihullcollege.ac.uk/sports TV boot camps. If you type in Solihull and sports TV boot camps, it will pop up.
Okay, now I just want to say quickly to the panel before we sort of wrap this up in a few minutes, is there anything that you want to get across to anyone watching right now that we may not have covered in this last hour? Any really important message that you just want to get across?
What we're finding when we're interviewing candidates at the moment, Noreen, is that what's putting a lot of people off is the fact that there's only 9 months to go until the games. So some of the opportunities at the organising committee, some of these ones I read out earlier, the contracts are fairly short. But if you're in a position where that's a risk that you can take, you're in an absolutely brilliant position to zoom ahead of lots of candidates with more experience than you. So I would say, again, probably don't discount yourself if you don't meet all of the criteria on some of those jobs. If you think that you can put yourself forward for 9 months, 10 months of work, go for it. I came out of a permanent job to do this role. And I wasn't looking for a move. I was quite happy in my job. But in about November 2019, I'd promised myself that when I visited the Olympics in 2012, if an opportunity came up to volunteer at something similar, I would not put the barriers in my way. I wouldn't use any excuses. I would just put my name down. And all I did was I went onto the Commonwealth Games website to search for how I found out about volunteering vacancies. And the job I'm doing today was at the top of the list. And it was just serendipity. I just happened to feel a bit nosy and I just looked. And then I applied and I'm doing it. So please, somebody else have the same experience.
Okay, thank you, Nicola. Okay, just another question I've just seen actually from Lisa saying, what kind of sports will trainees be working on? And will they get to work on multiple sports or just one?
Oh, I think we've done that one, but
sorry, I couldn't remember if we had done that or not.
Yeah, we've done all of the sports. So all of the sports that are appearing. So there are 19 sports and 6 para sports. So we're covering. There'll be opportunities across all of them, and some roles are just on one sport, but some roles are on multiple sports. So there's opportunities in both camps.
Okay, thank you so much. Can I just say, Charlotte, Malcolm, Emma and Nicola, you have been fantastic panelists. Thank you so much for joining us on this masterclass. You've shared a lot of really interesting and valuable knowledge. And I hope, everyone watching this will really gain something from this and that they'll all think, right, we need to, after this, we really need to go on and apply. But yes, thank you so much. And remember, again, you can apply by going to www.solihull.ac.uk/sports TV bootcamps / I know that's a very long address, but if you do want to find out more, do check out Create Central, home of original storytelling. Go and check out their website and you can sign up as well for one of their events. But panelists, thank you so much. You were awesome.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Brilliant. Good to see you all. Thank you.
Thank you. And a huge thank you to each and every one of you that joined us on this masterclass. I hope you got something out of it. And I'm sure if you do have any further questions, if you reach out to, any of these sites on social media or by email. I'm sure they'll be able to answer your questions. And if you enjoyed it, please do share your thoughts. Remember, we're on social media as well, so you can let everyone know that you enjoyed this masterclass by sharing it on social media at Create Central UK or hashtag DigiCities as well. And I think pretty much that's our hour done. So thank you very much for watching, and make sure you apply. And finally, best of luck from me. Thank you. See you later.